So from there, what's going to happen is it's going to go into the disc screens. The disc screens are right up here. You guys will see them when we go out, and they're a great big machine that has hundreds of these paddles in it. And what these paddles do is they spin really fast, and they make all the lightweight material, so the paper and the cardboard, they're actually able to climb up the ladder and get dumped out. All the heavier material, the glass, the metal, the plastics, that's going to be heavier, so it sinks down to the bottom and actually goes out on a different conveyor belt. Up into a second disc screen. From the second disc screen, you're actually able to pull out 4 of the paper into 2 different grades, whether it be mixed paper or newspaper. So from there, once they pull that out, it's going to drop back down and go up this long conveyor belt right out here. You guys will see me walk out on there. From there, it's going to go under a magnet. The big rotating thing out there is a great big magnet. And that magnet's going to pull out anything steel. Then you can see that rotating across there, you'll see the things flying up. Those are all steel cans that are getting pulled out of it. From there, those get dumped directly into a bin to where they can be baled and sold. After that, it's going to drop back down and go into what's called an optical scanner. So that what this is doing is it's looking for number 1 plastic. So number 1 plastic is PET plastic or your water bottles. So the clear plastic. And what that machine's going to do is moving very fast. You see it when we get out there. It's able to read, the lines are able to tell what grade of plastic it is, and it sends a jet of air. So you hear these constant little air puffs out there, and it blows that number 1 plastic over the other plastic, and it lands on a separate line to where it can be baled directly from. It's a very cool piece of equipment. It's very expensive. From there, if you look at the line on the right, that's actually PET plastic, and whatever is left on the left is what's going to be up to the hand sorter. So if it's climbing up this here, the big ladder, the first one, the first bin that you see right here is actually steel cans going in there. This is all PET plastic that's going to go up and drop into this bin, and this is everything that's left that's going up for hand sorting. So you can see them again dropping into the bins. Those are all the different bins that we have set up for our different commodities, and they're starting to hand sort. So the first hand sort we do is going to be pulling out number 2 natural. Number 2 natural is actually milk jugs. So if you guys look at the bottom of your plastics, there's going to be a recycling symbol. And in that recycling symbol, there's going to be a number in there. And if it's a number 1 through 7, we can process it and we can recycle it. The most valuable plastic is the number 2 natural, so your milk jugs. The second most value is going to be a number 2, and that's your mixed color plastic. So your laundry detergent, your soap bottles, anything like this. That's a number 2 HD color, not natural.
What do you mean that's the most valuable?
It's worth the most when you go to sell it.
When you sell it in the bales? And who buys them?
All different brokers, to be honest with you. So we try to keep a lot of it as local as possible. Beta Plastics buys a lot of it, Grand Appetite, Metal, Adnos buys a lot of it too. It just depends.
And they're turning it into something else.
Turn it into products. I'll get to that in just a minute. So from there, what they're going to do is it's going to go down one more step, and anything that's left from there, so we have the number 1's pulled out, we have the number 2 natural, the number 2 color. Anything that's left is going to be considered a 3 through 7, and that's all gets thrown into one bin. And what we do with that is those bales get baled up, and they go to Beta Plastic where they grind it, or they shred it, grind it, melt it into new pellets. And it's actually able to make into new seats. So this is a seat, and you can see all the different colors of plastic. So they don't have to separate it out into different colors and grades, because what's going to happen is this seat's going to go to a manufacturer, and they're going to cover it in fabric and material. And it's going to be made into an office chair. So you can see all the different colors and specs in there. Whereas with the milk jugs, it's very easy and very valuable to recycle because it's clear and people can color it whatever color they want. They don't have to fight the several different colors that come in your laundry detergent. Your laundry detergent comes in red and blue and yellow and green. So it makes it a little more valuable. From there on out, what's going to be left is any 3 through 7 plastic. They'll pull off and throw in a bin. And then also it's going to be aluminum. So the aluminum should only be left on that line after that, and they're going to grab that off by hand and separate that into a container where it can be baled as well. Now, being a bottle state, does anybody know what a bottle state is? Yep.
A state that they give you return.
Yes, you get returns. Good job, very good. You get 10 cents for every bottle that you return. So we actually don't get that many aluminum cans because you can take them back to the store and get money for them. So it's very little aluminum of what we actually process, probably about a load every other month, versus other commodities, we do 2 or 3 loads a day. So that was the plastic. Now the glass, at that same point, will go down, fall out of that first disc screen, and come all the way down here to this machine right out here. You'll see that great big tall tower out there. And what that's doing is it's going to take a jet of air, and it's going to send air through all of that material, and it's going to pull out the paper, the plastic, and the metal that should not be in the glass. Again, it's dumped in this hopper out here. Glass can be actually very hard to recycle. It's hard to find a market that can actually buy it and use it. We're very fortunate that we do have a market that will actually take our glass and recycle it and turn it into products. The trick is, commodities are very low across the board. As oil prices go down, the price of recyclable material goes down. The price goes up, the price goes up. The trick with glass is it's made out of sand. So sand never goes up, it never goes down, it stays consistent. There's a point where producers can make new glass cheaper than they can actually reuse and recycle glass. The good thing about glass is if a lot of people do end up landfilling it, it's technically not harmful because it is the sand, but it is very important to recycle it too because it is very easy to recycle. It can be recycled over and over and over and over, and there's no limit to how often or how much you can recycle it. Whereas paper, everyone loves recycled paper because of the length of fibers. The U.S. has very nice paper because it has very long fibers that go into making our paper, whereas a lot of foreign products of paper, very short fibers. And manufacturers actually don't like it because it's actually harder to get stuff to stick together. So what you're looking at right here is our paper line. So those are coming out of our disc screens. There's newspaper and mixed paper. And what's going to happen is you'll see all these workers out here digging, and they're looking for contaminants, they're looking for plastic, they're looking for metal, they're looking for anything that should not be in the paper that they're going to pull out. From there, this is our paper line, and they're doing the exact same thing, just on a much larger scale. Where this machine is going to come out and it's going to feed, there's a conveyor in here, and all that paper is going to be fed onto a belt that leads up to our baler. So we're consistently baling paper. So as you can see, that pin that I'm talking about, we're dumping that paper onto that line. From there, that paper is going to go up, and it's going to go into our baler. This is our baler. It'll take almost 2 tons of material and compact it into 1 bale. And when you guys go out here and you see these big bales, just think 2 of those weigh as much as your parents' car or SUV. It's pretty crazy to think. And from there, you can actually see it compacting right now. That's what it's doing, that's the baler. And it's packing all that in very, 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 very tight. And once that's done, once it's tight, it's going to come out right here. So it'll come out right here, and there's baler wire. So it'll be wrapped and tied just like you guys ever seen hay bales wrapped and tied. And then from there, it gets stacked and goes out, and it gets piled so we can load it out on the truck. Each day we do about 2 loads of paper out of here, each bale. So each one of those paper bales that will be sitting out there has about 17 trees worth of paper in it. So when you figure it takes about 28 to 30 bales to fill up a truck, every day we're sending out 2 truckloads of paper. So that's a lot of trees that we're saving every single day too. And that's just our paper. So the metal, we actually broker through Padnos. All of our plastics are brokered. Everything that we bring in here, we're able to find a market for it to recycle and sell, except for what should not be in here. And that brings me to my next point. We always have people that are going to do the wrong thing. So a lot of times recycling is viewed as being free. The city of Grand Rapids has free recycling. It's actually not free because it costs us a lot of money to deal with it. Because what happens is you have families that live paycheck to paycheck and very low income. They're not going to pay the $7 to tip their trash cart when they can throw it in the recycling and it's picked up for free without cost. So we've had a very, very, very large increase in contamination to the point where dog waste, diapers, food, furniture, clothing, hazardous waste, hazardous materials. And the problem with that is I've had everything from a 5-gallon bucket of hydraulic oil placed in one of our bins. And it's a big problem because when we tip that on the floor, that oil spills and then contaminates the entire load versus just 1 or 2 things being bad. So it's very important that you recycle, but it's also important that you recycle the right things. So when you go to throw your peanut butter jar in there, just try to rinse it out. Wash it out, shake it out a little bit. Same thing with your milk jugs, your laundry detergent. Rinse that stuff out of there and try to get it clean, and then throw it in your recycling bin. Because otherwise it comes here, then we get rats and it stinks really bad, and it's just not a good product that we want in the end. So does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
You said something like you only accept grade 1 plastic to 7.
1 through 7.
What if you get like what would be an 8 or 9?
There's very little that actually is an 8 or a 9. So and the other thing we won't take is styrofoam, even though sometimes styrofoam will have a 6 or a 5 stamped on it. And the reason is when you get out here, you'll see how fast those disc screens are turning, and that styrofoam hits those disc screens and just turns to red. It's actually contamination in the glass.
Is there any place that recycles
Dart
styrofoam?
and Aardvark in Grand Rapids will recycle them, but it's a hard one to recycle because an entire semi-load of styrofoam weighs about 400 pounds. So you're basically trucking air. It's very hard to do cost effectively. Now, there are a couple companies in Grand Rapids that have extruders, so they're able to melt it down and then take an entire truckload of styrofoam and turn it into a block about this big. That's all that's left of it. So it's very, very, very tough. And a lot of them are very picky because if it's ever been in contact with food, they won't take it because it's contamination.
So is that some of the stuff that ends up in the landfills still?
Probably, yes. It's very hard. It's very hard. The good thing of it is that once it's run over, it breaks down very small. And it's so light that it's very little, probably a product about this big ends up in a block this big once it's actually made. It's just basically straight air. It's very hard. So there are a couple companies that will recycle it, we just can't process it. So it is recyclable, just not here.
But will that ever break down? It won't ever break down, will it?
It would take a long time.
Yeah.
Yep. So I always refer to people to Dart and Aardvark, and they'll try to take it. So that's important too, is when you go take your lunch versus packing the styrofoam, packing the Tupperware, you can reuse that every single day versus over and over and over.
There was some of those egg cartons that were like that.
Yep. A lot of egg cartons are now going to cardboard,
Yeah.
which is much better than buying a cardboard one. And those are actually made out of paper, so it's actually.
So is this center profitable then? No. Okay.
No.
But it is, I mean, in comparison to the cost of the landfill, it's more efficient.
It's much more. It'll probably take us about a year and a half to get back to from where we're at right now. January 1st, we're going to start charging $10 a ton. Right now, we don't charge anything on the incoming material, and we're one of the only in the country that don't charge it. Everybody's gone to $20 to $25 a ton. We're just going to go to 10 to try to help them at least break. We don't need to turn a profit, but we need to break it. And the biggest problem is commodity prices. Give you an example, a year and a half ago, milk jugs were worth about 64 cents a pound. Right now, they're about 24 cents a pound. Aluminum was worth 70 cents a pound. Right now, it's about 28 cents a pound. Everything's been cut at least half, if not a third of what it was 2 years ago. So that makes it really hard for us to try to break it. But in the long run, it's definitely worth it, because otherwise all of this stuff is getting up in the landfill or being burned or dumped on the side of the road. We're very lucky that we have Ford Enterprise Fund, so we have the landfills and the waste energy, the tipping fees there to back us up and help us out.
So what's the number one item that goes into the landfill, would you say?
It's really hard to tell. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't recycle at all, so everything goes in the landfill. Building materials, there's a lot of building materials that go in. We're actually, I'd love to be able to start a building reuse program somehow for construction C&D program, but that'd be a year or so out.
Do we have any programs for food waste or composting
Yep, so
in
there
Kirk
is.
County?
City of Grand Rapids offers composting. Organicycle actually does composting as well, and it's basically like your craft service. You can pay a monthly fee, and they'll pick it up from you as well. Pretty much the same thing. There are home composting bins. There's one out here on the way out. I'll show you. That's actually vermin composting. So there's worms, and it actually eats the food and break it down and turn it into compost. Yep.